What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of A24, the podcast that takes a look at the A24 library 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we're getting out our anger and talking about the latest TV show from A24 and Netflix. We're talking about Beef.
Beef. Where's the beef?
It's what's for dinner.
Had to be done. I had to get it out of the way early. We had to do
done.
This.
We can move on now.
We can go ahead with the rest of the pod. Two people let a road rage incident burrow into their minds and slowly consume their every thought and action. Warning, spoilers are ahead. We are talking about the first 5 episodes of Beef that just dropped yesterday. As of recording, They dropped today. We're recording this on Thursday, April 6th. They are brand new. All 10 episodes are out on Netflix. You can watch all of them if you want. We're just talking about the first 5 right now, right here. We will be spoiling them. So if you don't want to be spoiled, hang tight, go watch them, come back to the pod. We're going to do 6 through 10 next week on the pod and kind of break it up into 2 chunks, give you some time to watch the show. But Ben, before we talk about Beef, which is highly anticipated, by the way, like A24 has been retweeting everybody's reviews and everybody's like, this is the best new television show of 2023.
Yeah, it's so, I mean, we'll get into it, but it hasn't been what I necessarily expected, but I've loved it. Like, it's been really, really good.
That's exactly how I feel. I can't wait to get into it. We have 2 pieces of A24 housekeeping because if you've been listening to us, we've been covering the Oscars for a really long time. And this is like our first, we talked about A24 last week on the pod. We talked about what's coming in 2023, kind of made our list, what we're really excited for. And this week is the kind of the first official, like, we are talking about a specific A24 project. So we're talking about Beef. So we do have some A24 news to cover. We are very excited about Beau is Afraid. Ben, it's getting closer every day, and we got a new trailer. Trailer number 2, 45 seconds long. We got a little bit of new footage, a little bit of used footage. What did you think about this new trailer?
I like it a lot. I think it's been a cool mix of the use of the Goodbye Stranger song, which is pretty rad. I think we got a little bit more idea of what the story is about. You know, we kind of understand now the Parker Posey character is, you know, someone he used to have feelings for, all that kind of stuff. So we're getting a little bit more of the story behind it without too much. So I thought it was great. It was perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a great little additional trailer. I'm glad it's 45 seconds. I would have been really nervous if it was like 90 seconds or another 2-minute trailer. I'm really excited. I feel like I wrote this down in the notes. I feel like I heard an animal growl at the end of the trailer. Yeah. Did you hear that?
Was it a lion or something like that? I couldn't tell what it was, but there's some growl there at the end. Yeah,
it was definitely an animal. So I'm thinking like, oh, cool. Like Ari Aster's in his fucking bag. Like we're going to get really, really weird. Here's the thing with Beau is Afraid. So it doesn't come out until the 21st, I believe. April 21st is the official release date. It is releasing 1 week early in Los Angeles and New York on April 14th. I will actually be in New York on April 14th and 15th. I'm only there for like a day and a half, and then I'm going down to Boston to run the Boston Marathon. My wife is coming with me. We're running it together. I'm really trying very hard to convince her that spending 3 hours of our probably 48 hours or probably 30 hours in New York City is well spent in a theater. I'm really hoping that I could go see it in New York a week early because that would be really, really cool.
I mean, it'd be amazing if you were able to pull that off. But I mean, it sounds like it's already be a jam-packed weekend. I can't imagine a 3-hour movie days before you go run this race. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And honestly, like, you know, the daytime we're gonna go do stuff like in New York, right? So my only real shot would be to go see it at like 11 o'clock at night, and then you're talking a 3-hour Ari Aster mindfuck at you know, getting out at 2 a.m. or 2:30 in the morning, and then the next morning we have to drive to Boston at like 7 a.m. So I'm really going to try my best. And you know what? I'll just tell myself it's for the pod. And maybe we get to it. Maybe I do it. But
maybe,
I don't know. But
I want to sit on it and wait for me anyway. Like you're just going to have to hold this information in for a week. That just sounds miserable. Maybe
it's worse. Maybe it would be worse off if I saw it. That's, Oh, God.
It's quite possible.
Because I could not talk to you. We gotta We got
I'd block your number for a week. I would have to block you for a week.
Block, done.
Yeah,
no text.
I've thought about it a lot with Babylon and Tar, but I definitely would with Beau. I'd be like, I can't hear anything about this before I see it for sure.
Oh man, I would burst. I'd keep that all in. Yeah, gosh, I might have just talked myself out of it. Really cool thing did happen with Beau's Afraid though. So a bunch of people in LA went to an April Fool's Day director's cut screening of Midsommar with Ari Aster doing a Q&A at like an ArcLight at a theater, and so cool. Everybody shows up and they're like, hey, guess what? You're not watching Midsommar. You're watching Beau's Afraid 21 days early, and you're the only people that are going to get to see it. So we got some really good initial reactions. People are saying it is absolutely unhinged and just a ridiculous mommy trauma meets After Hours meets all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. I mean, I just feel validated in our excitement, honestly. But what a cool idea from A24.
Yeah, I've never been like more jealous of moviegoers. And like when I heard all about that, it's like, what? That's amazing. That like, because they thought they were getting like a 10-minute kind of like sneak peek at some stuff, like maybe the first 10 minutes, which is like would have been great enough in itself. And then to get to watch the director's cut of Midsommar, like hell yeah, like, that'd be sick. Amazing. But then to get the rug pulled out from under you in the best way possible, it's like actually you guys get to see this like weeks before anybody else does. Like, oh. Geez, like some of the critics I follow on Twitter like passed on it because there's like, whatever, I'm not going to go. Like I'll see it tomorrow or whatever. Like, oh, what an amazing! That would have been so cool. Would have been so cool. That would have been sick. That's a really cool. I think April Fool's is pretty dumb, but that's pretty cool. That's a great April Fool's little move. Second piece of housekeeping is that we got a MaXXXine cast reveal. Yeah.
The movie is officially shooting. We have a whole cast here, and we have kind of a really brief synopsis of like maybe who some of the people play. I'm gonna run through it really fast. Obviously, we have Mia Goth starring as MaXXXine, Giancarlo Esposito. We've got Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale, Elizabeth Debicki, Kevin Bacon, Halsey, Moses Sumney, and Lily Collins. This movie follows MaXXXine, who continues her journey towards fame, setting out to make it as an actress in 1980s Los Angeles. Apparently, it deals with the world of underground filmmaking. So Esposito plays an agent for adult film and Z-list actors. Debicki plays a director. Monaghan and Cannavale are LAPD detectives, which Bobby Cannavale as an LAPD detective is just always prime. And Kevin Bacon is a private detective. How are you feeling about MaXXXine now that we have some more information about who is actually going to be in it and what's it about?
I mean, I'm super excited. I love Giancarlo Esposito. Like whenever my man Bugging Out is on screen, I'm here for it. Like he's just the absolute best. I had no idea that he was going to be in this at all. So when I saw his name, like there's a lot of cool names in there, like Elizabeth Debicki. Again, super excited about that. I think I've sung her praises when I talked about Widows. Like she's fantastic. Obviously, Kevin Bacon, like that's always a good time. Michelle Monaghan, Bobby Cannavale, like you said, like it's a great cast here. And Lily Collins, too. I actually think like she's really good. I don't think we see her in enough stuff. Yeah. So this is a very cool cast. Now I just have to decide, like, do I watch Pearl right now or do I just like watch it right before I go see MaXXXine? Because it's like, it's been too long. It's like, do I just keep waiting or do I finally watch it? I don't know. But I'm very excited for it.
You're in this weird, like, awkward dead zone where it's like, too late to join the hype train because now you're just gonna be, you're just a Ty West chill at this point where you're like, oh yeah, I'm excited. Now let me watch Pearl. Do it.
I mean, it's kind of like it's a different movie, but it's how I feel about Dune. Like I never saw Dune, but now it's just like, are they gonna re-release it before Dune 2 comes out? Because if I can wait to see it in the theater, then I should do that. And it's like, would they do this with X and Pearl? Like it'd be cool to see Pearl in the theater. So I don't know.
I think that'd be so cool. Like I mean, we talked last week about how A24 is doing all these re-releases of some anniversaries and some big stuff. Like these movies, X and Pearl, have been really quite big box office hits and very big hits in the kind of elevated horror realm of A24. That would be sick. Like if they come out with MaXXXine and they do some exclusive triple screenings where you kind of lead your way into it. I think that'd be really fun. I'd like that. And I mean, we don't have a release date for this yet. Obviously, production just started. They just started filming. We're probably not looking until at least summer 2024, if not fall, right?
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting too, because I guess I assumed they had already filmed it because they did X and Pearl like back to back. So I'm curious what the reasoning was, if it's just like, Mia Goth's schedule or didn't have the story completely fleshed out. I don't know, but I'm excited for it to come.
I mean, Mia Goth was in Infinity Pool, so I assume that took up some of her actual time as well as like her mental capacity. And maybe beneficial to get away from this world and then to come back as MaXXXine to kind of feel a little bit revitalized. I think it's going to be a great movie and, big cult following. So A24 are doing their first trilogy, I believe. Yeah. If we have that correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Super exciting. So that's pretty cool. Okay. That's our housekeeping things. God.
Oh, wait. No, sorry. So maybe the Souvenir. I think it's part 1, part 2, and then the Eternal Daughter. I think is like kind of a trilogy, but I think this is a much more official trilogy, I think. But sorry, I just like
you were racking your brain.
They're yelling at us like, Ethan, bed, come on, you guys.
Get it right.
Come on, Eternal Daughter.
That's true. That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, the Eternal Daughter. God, we should probably just check our facts before we get on here and start talking.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about beef. Let's talk about a new show.
Let's do it.
That just came out on Netflix, starring Steven. It's Yeun, right? Steven Yeun.
I believe so. Yeah.
And Ali Wong, and it is kind of like a thriller comedy drama. You said it good at the top of the show. It's not what I expected at all, but I'm just having a delightful time. We're going to talk about each episode kind of in some detail. We'll run through each episode, and then we will do our true cinema moments. We have a few to call out for each episode. But before we do that, do you just want to start with your overall thoughts on the first 5 episodes as a whole? How are you feeling? How are you enjoying beef?
I'm having a great time with it. Like, I think I love Steven Yeun, as we've talked about him on here with, Minari and other stuff that he's been in. He's fantastic. Ali Wong, actually, I've seen her like in person once, like doing her stand up.
Nice.
I love her stand up. She's hilarious.
She's coming to Portland in a couple of months. And I saw that and I was like, oh, maybe I should go see her. And then I could talk to her about beef.
Yeah. She's fantastic. She's hilarious. So this pairing was just, perfect in my mind. And I think it plays out really well on screen. I think they do have, it's weird because their characters don't necessarily interact a ton, but when they do, like, you can tell that the chemistry is there for this storyline. And it's not like necessarily like a romantic chemistry, although they do kind of hint to that a little bit, early on. There's like a scene where like, oh, wait, what's going to happen here? But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. All these music like cues and just like the needle drops are
such
just
good needle drops
in my high school heart.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh god, was that Hubas Tank? Like it's amazing. I think they're listening to Limp Bizkit right now. So yeah, there's so much of this was just like right up my alley. So I think it's funny. I think the supporting cast, obviously the main 2 are great, but our supporting cast is wonderful. David Cho, I think, is hilarious as the cousin Isaac.
So funny.
The brother who I hadn't heard of before, his name's Young Mazino. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But he and the husband, Joseph Lee, like, they're just fantastic. Like, it's got a great cast. And obviously, like, seeing Maria Bello as well in here as Jordan, like, she's wonderful, whether it's like Coyote Ugly or I think one of my favorites is A History of Violence. So it's great to see her. I had no idea that she was in this. I didn't clock her like in the trailers or anything. So I'm having a great time. I think it's taking a lot of diversions that I didn't anticipate. It was a thing, I guess, like when it was a 10 episode series, like how are they going to just do this where these 2 people are just after each other nonstop? That feels like it would get old. And I think now we've seen how, at least for the first half, we've seen how they've been able to like maintain this kind of through line of them having this problem with each other. So I'm loving it. I'm having a really good time. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I think I'm having a really good time. And you and I just obviously watched, all 5 episodes today, kind of in the latter part of the day. And we just finished episode 5 probably an hour ago ish. And at the end of episode 5, I was like, because I had about 40 minutes before we started to record. I was like, do I do it? Do I just keep going? And I feel like that's a really good sign because I am officially hooked. I'm officially sucked in where it's like, oh, I could bang out an episode real quick and figure out the next thing that goes on. And yeah,
I mean, my partners are the same thing. We wrapped up 5. I'm like, hey, I gotta go record. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch episode 6. I was like, if you do that, we're gonna have beef. So don't you dare like throw on episode 6. I'll be so mad.
Dude, I get that though. I mean, like it is that good. Again, not really what I expected. I think you kind of mentioned last week on the pod that it kind of gave you vibes of Falling Down, this movie from the early 90s starring Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall. So I actually rewatched that movie last night as kind of nice. a little Adam Driver double feature thing here, a little drive-in. Shout out 3 films in a pod. So I kind of did this like prep for it, and it is very similar. It is very much in the same vein of like, they're just pissed off people, and so they're just taking it out on other people. And I think that's really done in a great way, at least through the first 5 episodes so far, is that we really do have this kind of genesis point of them, right? We see in the trailer and we see in the first 2 minutes of the show them just beefing in the parking lot and just like getting in each other's way. We get a big car chase, and then we really evolve and blossom into understanding like the cores of those emotions and those traumas and like all of the shit that is going on in people's lives and why it kind of culminates in that. And there have been so many moments through the first 5 episodes where I'm just like, oh, I felt that. I felt that. I agree with that. I get that, because, Ali Wong's character, Amy, she's her thing is like, she is always putting on a show, right? She's always trying to be successful, trying to be perfect, trying to be exactly what she should be. And then you get Danny, who is Steven Yeun's character, who is just constantly grinding and fucking up and failing. And so we get these 2 people that are kind of on different ends of the spectrum, but like they feel very similar because of what is happening to them. And then we get to, episodes 4 and 5, and it's a greatly expanded dramatic storyline with so many interlocking pieces. There's a lot to talk about. I think we should just start with episode 1, and we'll kind of go, because there's some big reveals along the way that are really shaping up to be an interesting back 5 episodes. I feel like, so I'm glad we're both enjoying it, because we haven't talked about this. So that's, I'm glad you're having a good time. Episode 1 is called The Birds Don't Sing, They Screech in Pain. We really just kind of level set what the show is about, right? So Danny is a contractor. Amy owns a plant store that is getting ready to be sold to a massive, essentially a Home Depot retailer for $10 million. We find out later in the series. Danny tries to kill himself with hibachi grills and a carbon monoxide monitor, and Amy masturbates with a gun, and Danny goes into her home and pisses all over her bathroom. Those are really the big bullet points, and that's in the first episode, Ben.
Yeah, so we see him use the bathroom after he discovers it was her that was driving. Yep. And, you realize he did something because he just bolts. He's like, all right, see ya, I'm out of here. You see this liquid coming out. I was like, oh, I wonder if he like clogged her toilet like with a towel or something. I thought he like broke a pipe or something. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, he would know this stuff. He knows how to do it. And then we go and there's like, oh no, he just like peed everywhere. Like, this is crazy. But I think it's so interesting, like how we meet them. I mean, we talked about it, but like Steven Yeun we meet where he's just trying to get like money back on these grills that he spent like potentially for a job that maybe like got canceled or something, like he put in the money. He's like, well, I need to return these now. And, as a contractor, you just have to buy the supplies and hope the job stays. So he's just trying to get his money back on that. And then her frustration, you find out, is because like she's been working for years to make like this $10 million deal. That's what she's stressed out about, is getting her $10 million deal. And he just wants like his whatever $200 back for his grills. But they're both just like so fucking mad. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is crazy that's how they like intersect here, is this frustration. And then, turning into the car chase. Like it's kind of the thing that I think if anyone has any sort of like road rage or whatever, and like that's where I get the most frustrated is driving, with other people. And what they do here is I think they kind of show you like what maybe some people wish they could do. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking track you down. I'm gonna hunt you down. Like I'm gonna make you like whatever. Like I don't even know what you do when you find the person, but it's just like, and he like Steven Yeun is on a fucking mission to like find out who is behind the wheel there. And then obviously like he never finds out in that first episode, or I mean in that part anyway. So it plays out so well. You get to see the way then he like retells the story. He's like, oh man, like I fucking had him. Like, he's lucky I didn't catch him. It's just like doing his version of the story. Yeah, exactly. It's so funny. So, yeah, and then we Ally Wong with her husband, who's like, hold on, let's think about positivity. All that kind of stuff.
Dude.
Like, that's like infuriating on its own, having someone who's like that positive. So great intro to this show.
Yeah, really good. And again, like it's that really core theme and thought of like the system fucked me over. Like I didn't get what I was promised. I was raised by my parents that if I worked really hard and I followed the rules like Danny, I would be successful. And I was taught, in Amy's case, her husband's late father was a world-renowned artist, right? So if she works really hard to build this empire, she gets her dues. And like that, it just is not happening. So to see that set them off is really good. I thought there were a lot of funny moments, and I do think this is a great introductory episode. And I like that we don't really see them interact until the very end, right? When Danny has the idea to, say something's wrong with your home and I need to go inside because Amy's husband George is gone and she's a little bit vulnerable and wants, and believes that she does need remodeled in the house and all of these things. I'm curious because the scene with the gun, obviously Amy was going into the safe, right? She was going into the safe. I didn't know what was in the safe. We didn't know what was in there. She figures out what the password is and then grabs the gun. I can almost guarantee you your first thought was not, oh cool, she's going to masturbate with this. What did you think was going to go down? Because we are in the first episode. Like what heights were we going to get to, right?
Yeah, I had no idea because obviously we see that she has some sort of like rage or, those kind of feelings. So I had just associated it with that, which I also think the husband kind of does too. Like that's what he's worried about. It's like, oh, you're going to get so angry that you're just going to like quite literally pop off, So that's why he keeps the gun like held back. But when we see like what she actually wants it for, it's like, oh, okay, like this is your thing. Like, all right, cool, whatever,
I think it's a really good insight. And as we progress through the 5 episodes, it becomes more and more, I think, front and center, this insight into what drives Amy specifically, but also maybe what drives these people in general and us is this darker side that we just like don't recognize, that we don't allow the light of day, right? Like these bad, dark, dirty things that we would like to do, but we don't. The road rage and the things like that just never get to happen because that's not what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? So I think as we go through, we understand every single character, no matter how kind of side or small, has something like that kind of pushes them into the dark, pushes them into a bad direction. Which I think is a really, really good way of evolving this story from being just about these two people to their families and their loved ones and their friends and cousins and the people that they interact with and that it affects. I loved the needle drop at the end, and that's something that they kind of keep with throughout the series. I just, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I just really, really love shows that end with a really good needle drop. That's just like the big benefit of television, right? It's just like you get a great needle drop, pulls you back in for the next episode.
Yeah, it's all their selections have been great. I know we'll continue to talk about them, but it's all this like 90s and early 2000s like rock kind of stuff, and they use it so well. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's really good. Episode 1 was good. I liked episode 1 quite a lot. Okay, episode 2, The Rapture of Being Alive. We get a really nice intro, a good oneer of her kind of walking through her house. I just wanted to call that out. I think we get some really nice direction and filmography in this show so far. I wanted to shout out, so this is kind of the episode where they kind of diverge a little bit and then they reconverge at the end again. We get a similar situation where Danny's kind of like drinking away his sadness at the bar, and then Amy paints his truck with "I can't drive" on the hood, "I am poor" on the door, and "I'm a bitch" on the tailgate. That's the trifecta, dude. That's hard hitting.
Oh, she was not holding back at all. And all that rage comes from like her husband kind of ignoring her at like the gallery showing or whatever. She's like, okay, well, they had a little bit of a fight, and she's like, well, if you're going to ignore me, like she says, I'm going to go to the store, but obviously she doesn't. And we see where she ends up going, and just what she did to his truck. And then later he's like trying to use, I think, gasoline or paint thinner to get it off, and it's taking the paint off of his car as well. Like he's just, so yeah, I don't know. That's just like, it was really funny. Season 2, I mean, the episode 2 was great though.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way to initially elevate and say like, oh, cool, she has a stake in this. It's not all Danny, right? It's she is getting off on doing this kind of side adventure as well. Danny's contracting service is called Atcho Service Construction, which is just a phenomenal name. They're rated 3 stars on Yelp. I just wanted to bring that up. It's like 32 reviews or something because earlier in the episode, he's doing some work for somebody and he basically says, you know, like Yelp is bullshit. All those reviews don't matter, whatever. But in reality, he's rated 3 stars and he fucking hurts. He does not like it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, he just like installed the Ring, doorbell for someone, and then it's accidentally like still on when they start talking. Like, did you fire him yet? He's just to sit there and listen to these people talk about him without realizing that he can hear it. So, I love that name though. And we get some other stuff later on, with the chosen ones and the Cho Bros and stuff. Like
the Cho Bros.
That was great. But Atcho Service is such a good name.
Yeah, that was good. I firmly believe that we got a mid-90s reference in this episode, Ben. I firmly believe that someone at A24 was like, oh, you're going to put skateboarders in this episode? Well, can they just look like the guys from mid-90s? That would be cool. Because they were nearly identical. I mean, if you've seen the episode, there's these kids that offer 40, or they say like, hey, we'll fix your tire for $40 because I'm pretty sure they slashed Amy and George's tire, right?
Kind of seemed like a quick way to make $40. Yeah, without a doubt.
So, really looked like mid-90s. So I'm just gonna go.
I had the same thought. So yeah, I think it's more than coincidence that that's what they. Yeah.
Thank God. Okay, I just like I love to see the love. The mid-90s love is all that I want. Last question I had for you about episode 2. Where are you at on chicken parm, Ben? You a chicken parm guy?
I've never had chicken parm, actually. My relationship with chicken parm kind of exists solely through Jersey Shore because I think that's what the El Quito Guido would always get from his mom is the chicken parm. So that's my experience with it is through Jersey Shore. I've never had chicken parm. What about you?
Living vicariously. I can appreciate that. Look, I like chicken parm. My mom used to make a pretty good chicken parm when I was growing up. So I've got a good relationship with it, and Paul says that he wants to be making a chicken parm when his wife comes home from work one day. So, I peg him as a chicken parm fan. So just trying to gauge where we're all at. So I don't know, maybe when we do a live pod at some point in time, we'll have to get you a chicken parm. You can eat it live on the show.
Let's make it happen. Yeah. I like
live
that
reaction
though, because I forget what Stephen Yeun says, as far as like you come home to your wife and she's making you some like Asian dish, and then he's like, no, I want her to come home to me and I'm making chicken parm, because he brings up like, you don't have to marry a Korean girl, just like our parents told us to, like you can marry anyone kind of thing. So even that just kind of shows how that he's not stuck on that I have to be with someone who's Korean. It's like, no, maybe I marry like an Italian girl, and I get chicken parm or she gets chicken parm when she comes home, that kind of a thing. So I liked the subtle, maybe not so subtle, but like, the subtext, I guess, in that dish.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart script so far. I think there's a lot to be taken from these moments that we get between Danny and Paul and Amy and George and things like that. I think there's obviously a lot more than what is being said. Episode 3, I Am Inhabited by a Cry. This episode opens up with Stephen Yeun going to church. He basically was invited to go to church by one of his former, people that he hooked up with way back in the day. And God damn it, if Stephen Yeun can't act, dude, Oh my God.
I mean, at first, I don't know what you thought, but I felt like he was trying to put on the tears for, Veronica, like his whatever long lost love kind of thing. He's like, oh, I'll pretend that I'm like really into this so that she'll, think that's cool or whatever. And then it just kind of feels like it just became overwhelming for him. He's like, oh no, I actually like really need to cry right now. And he just like lets it all out. And it's a wonderful scene. It's a beautiful scene. Just that transition from like all in one take, we don't really cut to anything. We just like go from him just standing there, nothing, to just like bawling and having someone come up with their hand on his back. So yeah, it was such a good scene.
And I think it's a really good character development, especially with where we are going. We're learning that Danny's kind of a really shady, shitty person, but maybe he doesn't want to be. And maybe that's something that he can't really come to reality with or grips with. And so like, at the end of that kind of experience, he mentions to Veronica, like, she asks, are you going to come to church every weekend? And he says, no, I think it was just like a one-time deal. Like, I just needed a good cry. So I think he does have a hard time reconciling with who he truly is. And he wants to be somebody different. And I think that is, obviously a through line, as we've seen for episode 3, 4, and 5 so far for his character. A couple more big things happen in this episode. Amy's husband, George, kind of a dick. Kind of a really bad guy.
Kind of a dick.
He sends Amy, is supposed to be sending her a picture of a plant, I believe. Something. Yes, something very pedestrian. And instead sends her a screenshot that he has on his phone of her coworker in a bikini on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we later see that he is masturbating to that. So we're 3 episodes in, 2 masturbation scenes. I feel like we're off to a good start. Little, killing of a sacred deer action over here, which is good. But like that, like he mistakenly sends that to his wife. Like, dude, wouldn't you have a safety protocol in place? Like, put that photo in a folder.
There's 3 steps that have to be taken to send a photo. It's like none of these, like you didn't stop on any of these. Like, that's insane. I did love though that he used like, the old school like Playboy excuse, like, oh no, I just read the articles, and his whole thing is just like, I just like the captions. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, it's so dumb. But I've really enjoyed, like, I guess that is the modern day version of like, oh, I read the articles. That's what I read it for. That's what I look at it for. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, it's interesting to like learn all the secrets of all these different people. But yeah, he's a great dad, like we see that, because like Junie loves him and always kind of runs to him and all that kind of stuff. But he also has his secrets.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the other thing. If we're going to talk about George for a second, the end, they go to couples counseling. Obviously, Amy is putting on a very obvious show here, and they are supposed to do this intimacy exercise. They sit down together, they put their hands kind of palms together. They're supposed to do it for 30 minutes, and we cut to the scene, and she's like, how much longer do we have? And he says 22 minutes. She wants us to do the full 30, and I cringed so badly. There's so many moments in the show where I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry that this is your life. Like,
right?
It sucks. But he goes on to mention, like, they start telling truths to each other, and he basically says, like, God, I often think about my life if I never met you. And it's like, I know we're telling truths, but you don't fucking say that, dude. You just don't say that. He
really just jumped to the end. He's like, all right, I'm going to tell you like the gnarliest thing I can tell you. Like that's more gnarly than saying like I masturbate to your coworker. Like that's like, I think all the time about what my life would be like without you. It's like, what the fuck are you saying, man? Like we had audible gasps in our living room when that happened. It's like, Jesus Christ, unreal. Man. Like why are you saying that? Like, that's insane. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine like doing that with anybody. Like 30 minutes of just like intense staring at someone and holding hands, like not even holding hands, just like touching palms, sitting across from each other. Like, I just had the second hand. Like, I don't know if it was embarrassment or just whatever, but it looks insane.
Oh yeah, looks totally insane. And the goal of that exercise, which I think is a very good storytelling juxtaposition of like this moment of vulnerability where Amy possibly is trying to actually be vulnerable and say like, I feel this pressure on my chest constantly. Yeah. It feels like the ground, but right here. And then George goes on to basically dismiss it and is like, look, I get it. I understand depression. I had a couple friends beat depression and all these things. And it's like, it's literally that entire scene. You're just like, you stop talking.
Yeah.
Stop sending words out of your mouth. You have to stop this, because it does go to show every single person in this show in some way or another is chasing, I guess is bent on a selfish kind of skew. They're all very, very selfish people. And this is kind of what drives them. As we progress, people are longing for a special kind of acceptance from others. And that's kind of something we're growing towards, which I really like. I really enjoy.
Yeah. You talked about the script, and I just want to say quickly, like, the way that she describes her feelings, it's just like, oh man, this is really beautifully written. Like, this is really cool to hear. It's like the ground, but it's right here. It's like, oh shit, that's kind of like, between that and what we heard in After Sun when the daughter's explaining. So like, you ever feel like this? And you can just see on Paul Mescal's face, it's like, oh yeah, that's you have depression. Like, that's what I have, And she doesn't know like the word for it or just like describing it. Like, it kind of gave me those vibes of someone who's just like, but I just love the way they wrote this. It's like the ground, but it's like right here in my chest. Like, oh fuck yeah, that's what a lot of it's like. But the husband's just like, oh no, I totally get it. Don't worry about it. Like, my friends had it. It's fine. It's like, no, man, stop. Please stop.
My After Sun Blu-ray shipped, by the way, Ben.
Same.
I'm feeling really good about it.
Same. Yeah, I saw the post too from our buddy Vibe. I know hers is on the way too, so I'm excited. I'm excited.
That is so cool. I can't wait to frame those postcards and pretend like that's my family. That's going to be really fun. Yeah. The ending of this episode, I want to mention the ending of episode 3. Paul is kissing Amy. And really, really quick, let's just take a beat on this Paul-Amy situation, because Amy creates a catfish IG account to essentially talk to Paul to try to learn more about Danny, I think, or try to figure out Danny's life. I
think Paul was a surprise. I think she was just going to do it to like talk shit to Danny. It was the initial plan, is how I took it. But then Paul like runs their socials, and so she's like, oh wait,
and she was like, what the fuck is that?
And so then it became kind of a catfishing thing. Like, okay, well, let me see like what information I can get. And it was like Kayla or something. I forget what like the name was that she came up with. That all comes to a head when Paul just shows up at the store. Yeah,
all comes to a head. Paul shows up at the plane store, and this weird, like catfishing scenario takes place. And Paul just starts kissing Amy. And I was just like, uh-oh, here we go. We're doing it.
Here it is. Like, oh, man. Like, okay, what's going to happen now? Like, this is one of the first moments. It's like, okay, this is not going the way I thought it was at all. No. I did not think there'd be any, like, sibling, like, connection at all. I just thought it'd be Steven Yeun and Ali Wong, and that's it. But, yeah.
No. I think this is far better than, I guess, what I thought it might have been.
Yeah, for sure.
This ending is a montage. So that montage kind of begins with that scene. Then we get a moment of George masturbating to a pic of Mia, which is Amy's coworker, which again, just terrible guy. And then Danny playing the guitar at church. And really, everybody's life kind of moving in a very divergent direction to where we started 2 episodes ago. Any other thoughts on episode 3 before we hit 4 and 5?
No, I just think that the ending is great because we see Danny's like, I think really kind of shifted his feelings and wants to become a better person. So going into episode 4, it's like, okay, maybe he's like good to go now. So yeah. Yeah.
Episode 4, just not all at the same time. I got to shout out as well. I love these title cards, and title images and titles. I think they're really, really cool.
Beautiful artwork.
Super fun stuff. Definitely. This is the Vegas episode. So Paul takes Danny's truck to Vegas to meet Amy because Amy's there trying to sell her business, trying to get that sign off. They get high together, they smoke, and this is now like the second time that they've met, Amy and Paul, and Amy always prefaces it and basically says like, look, if we're going to hang out, we can't do anything physical. So there is that very kind of, not lazy, but kind of crass like storytelling decision of like, oh, let's just tell them exactly what our character is thinking. But it works because we know, okay, we're going somewhere physical. This is eventually going to get there, but that tension is very real that we feel. We get a big chase through the casino, when Danny and his cousin Isaac see Paul walking out. They abandon the buffet. Isaac's just shit-faced. Hilarious stuff. Danny finds out that Amy's in Vegas, doesn't ask her, basically says, like, look, you are the person. Like, is that fucking normal behavior for you to chase somebody because you almost got hit and all this stuff while she's on stage with her business? And then Danny gets arrested in the hallway and Amy's wagging her finger. And that was a really fun episode. And it was a really funny episode, dude. Isaac and Danny together are hysterical.
Oh, yeah. I love Isaac so much. I've never ever thought about having Skittles and Coke together. I've done like Skittles and Sprite, but I'm like, oh, Skittles and Coke, that's probably good too. Yeah, their connection is so good. I think she tells Paul every time, because it can be like, well, I set the tone at the beginning, whatever happens, but at least I said it, like, just to feel better about herself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. But yeah, them hunting him down, like looking for him, running up like the 45th floor, and like Isaac just throwing up all that lobster or the crab he's been eating on the way up.
That was
like,
brutal.
It was so gnarly. I was like, there's no way I could make it up like 10 stairs. Yeah. I hope 10 stairs, but 10 floors, like 45 floors. That's insane, But I guess the adrenaline just like is kicking in. So we learned just so much about it, though. Was it like the Korean Johnny Carson or whatever, like that? Like, oh no, he meant that as an insult, all that kind of stuff. So, a lot of really good, I don't know, bonding between our characters here and the building those relationships. And
conversely to the bonding, we get a moment in the end when Danny slaps Paul and is basically just like, fuck you. Like, this is you. This is, we are different people, and it's just like not working. And Isaac, I think, like cracks open an oyster and then spits it in his face.
Yeah. Oh, because earlier too, when Paul's talking to why can't I remember Ali Wong's character's name? What is her name? Amy. Yeah, Amy.
Yeah.
They get the whole just like super high conversation of just like being the main character versus being like an NPC, and he's like, the other people die and the game goes on, but when you die, it stops. Like, over. Yeah, man. She's like deep. Wow. Like, okay. And so then, that's kind of like what he brings up with them. It's like, no one's going to care when you die. And that's like when he gets punched. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Like that was intense. And then, the spit in the face was good. So yeah, I love this episode.
I mean, again, I do think that he brings up a point that Danny probably can't accept about himself. And that very well might be true. Like the legacy of his parents owning kind of a motel and all of these things that were successful dies with Danny, essentially. And maybe he just can't come to those grips. So I do like that interaction. Really funny episode. I liked episode 4. I thought it was a good, I think it was smart to travel outside of LA, to travel outside of Orange County and these other places to get to a new setting and see Amy away from her family, even though her family was supposed to come with her to Vegas, and then Paul ends up meeting her, which is just like this continuous tension by these little decisions. We're just like, oh, that probably wasn't smart. Like, I don't know if you should be doing that,
Yeah, and like I don't know who's listening to this that hasn't watched it, but for anyone who has it, Amy's in Vegas because she's trying to sell her company, and the person that's going to be buying it is kind of holding this like conference thing in Vegas. And so the lady that's going to be buying it, who's played by Maria Bello, is just like, just a little due diligence, whatever, but we'll get it all figured out, but just like come hang out. And so Amy's at this conference just talking about, oh, you can have everything. You can do like, everything's great, blah, 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 all this stuff. So when Danny like asked that question, like it really just kind of like fucks things up for a bit. It's like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And then we see some of the other things like, what's her name? Is it Naomi? Like her friend like kind of starts putting together, because that's like the running gag. Also, it's kind of going on is the video being played on Nextdoor on the app. That everyone's like, hey, have you seen this video?
And like
on
Naomi
Nextdoor?
and Jordana, they know about it. Like everybody's seen this, but she has not been caught yet.
Yeah, they hadn't put it together, and that's the first time that like Naomi's listening, like remembering what Danny said, like, oh wait, the truck, the white SUV. So the stakes were pretty high at that point, but I feel like for now she got out of it pretty well. Yeah,
she managed, and the backdrop of Vegas was really smart because she is able to say like, oh, that person's just drunk. Like they don't know what they're talking about, which was really, really good. I think it's smart writing. Okay, episode 5. This is where we stopped for this kind of go around for episodes. It is called Such Inward Secret Creatures. I just love these episode titles. I think they're really, really good. Okay, I'm gonna go through my points. That I wrote, and then we can talk about this episode. You open with Danny introducing himself as Zane to George while they're biking. Goes back to George's house. The daughter says, "I know you," and I think that is really, really good stuff because you just continue to have this really strong undercurrent of like, oh my God, like Danny and Amy, they are going to get found out really, really soon, but it never happens when you think it's going to happen. And like the daughter does know him because he tried to light her car on fire and gets caught. And basically he goes home to Paul and is like, I almost set a baby on fire. And so that's legit. And then you're just like, oh my God, like, is this it? Is it now? It is not. But I think that tension between like everything potentially snapping at any moment is really good. We see that George is definitely having an affair with Amy's coworker Mia, whom he masturbates to. He's on the phone with her and says, I love you, and like wish you were coming with us to our little staycation because we got to get it out of the house because the plumbing's bad. Paul and Amy have exceptionally not vanilla sex, which is one of the storylines in the prior episode of like, hey, George, like I was this is like episode 2. Like, hey, I was masturbating with a gun because our sex is vanilla. That's something. That's a choice.
That is.
So that happens. And then Fumi, this is George's mom. She's having money problems, basically breaks into their house to try to steal the very famous chair that his dad created. And then Isaac's friends go and rob George's house at the same time. And Fumi shoots them and falls down the stairs. And we get this like really chaotic final couple of minutes. It is a fantastic episode that is really, I feel like really the linchpin to excel us into the back 5. I think this was a very good episode, like we mentioned, to be like, can we just like keep going? Let's just keep rolling.
Yeah, there's so much here. Like you said, the tension with the daughter, and then like the Skittles and stuff, and then even the dad's like, she's just weird with new people sometimes. Like, so it's nice that he's playing it off.
Dad, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it's just whatever. So that tension is pretty high, and then the whole concept of like why he's there is to help his friends. Like I'm assuming like cut down the security system so his friends can come in, but he gets to know George and then like likes him, so then he calls his friends like, nope, it's off, we can't do it, whatever. And so we really see that with him throughout this show of him just kind of like changing his feelings on what he's going to do. He's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to rob him. So that was really cool. The phone call George has, like, it's the dialogue is in such a way that you don't know if he's talking to his mom or to Mia.
Exactly. Like, I thought it was his mom.
Right. Yeah. The way he's talking about it's like, oh, I miss you. It'd be great if you could come with us. Like just all this kind of stuff. And it's like, who's he talking to? Like this could go both ways. Then, at the very end, he just says Mia's name. It's like, oh shit. He's not just masturbating to her. Probably, there's probably a lot more going on. Yeah. So that's intense. There's so much going on.
Whole another can of worms. Yeah. It's a very convoluted, series of events, but ultimately I think it really stays true to what this show is about, kind of discovering your inner demons or your inner lusts or your inner whatever it is, and figuring out how to live with those or how to not live with those and how to hide those. And it is all happening all at the same time.
My question for you is, did the mom just happen to break in when Amy was leaving, or was she there the whole time they were having sex? Do you think?
Oh, that's tough. I want to believe that she was not there the whole time they were having sex because let's be honest, that was some really, really ramped up, pretty hot sex. And I hope Fumi was not in on that.
I hope so.
If she was, I don't know. That might be a little emotional trauma for her.
Yeah.
So, but she couldn't have been that fast to just like sneak in at the end. You know what I mean?
The other part
she
was
caught
just
the alarm
like,
with 1 second to go.
Yeah, just happened to be there, like hiding, not necessarily hiding, but whatever the geography is, the layout of their kitchen. But, like Amy walks out, the car starts, and then all of a sudden we see Fumi. It's like, oh, so she's just there. And that's when it dawned on me, like, wait, did she just listen to her like daughter-in-law cheat on her son? Like, does she, like, what do you do at that point? You know, you don't want to draw attention to yourself because you're trying to come and do some nefarious shit as well. So it's just like, you know, there's no love lost between them. Obviously, like she doesn't like Amy at all. So it's like, cool. If like you can get caught, then fine, but whatever. She has her own money issues going on.
Yeah, and she does mention when she's talking to her accountant, like my son and his wife are having some marital issues, some relationship problems. She knows this from the museum. They kind of had a little spat at the museum. So I don't think she was there. But yeah, that was a lot. And I do want to say that Isaac's friends are iconic. They've been in like one episode or 1.5 episodes. They are super funny. Andrew Santino, the guy with the kind of the redhead. Yeah. I see him sometimes from like place to place. He's in random things. He is so funny to me. And like the whole bit about like they try to go basically con George. And George is like, look, I'm going to need a second opinion before I let 2 plumbers in the house. And they're like, oh, there's 2 of us. That's one opinion. There's another opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, we saw him earlier in The Disaster Artist. So he's in The Disaster Artist.
Okay, yeah.
But most people would probably recognize him. Where I recognize him from is Dave, the FX show with Lil Dicky. He kind of plays like his manager friend in that show. So he's in a lot of that show. So that's where I recognize him from.
Oh, I gotta watch Dave now because I gotta get more. I gotta get more of this guy.
Yeah.
I think episode 5 I think is definitely the kind of the biggest, and we didn't even talk about the kind of the shaping storyline of Danny potentially conning the church out of a $20,000 or $100,000 loan.
Yeah,
that could be happening. So I think I just there's a lot, and I do like the complexity of this show. Do you feel like it's too much, or do you feel like we're kind of right on the cusp of like this is all intertwined and it's working out very well?
Yeah, I think it's all kind of working. Like you said, this it left us with a great like vault into like episode 6 in the back half here. It's like, okay, there's been a lot of great build up here. We understand what some of the tensions are. We understand these characters a little bit, and everyone isn't who they necessarily appear to be or who we were introduced to. So we know kind of what's going on in the back end. So now to see how this is all going to come together is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. We'll do our true cinema moment here in a second. Do you have any thoughts, any prognosticating, any predictions for anything that's going to happen in 6 through 10? Because I have no fucking clue how any of this is going to get resolved.
I thought on some level that they were going to fall into the trope of like Danny and Amy falling in love, like realizing that like, oh, we have more in common than we don't, and like, oh, so they're just going to like end up together. And that's where like the brother thing really threw me off. It's like, oh, fuck. Okay. This is not like, this is not a trope I've ever seen before. This is crazy, like, so yeah, I have no idea where this is going to go. Cause in theory, like all these people kind of suck, so it's like, I don't know who's going to lose or who's going to win. Yeah.
Well, Amy has basically agreed to sell her business for $10 million, but she is sticking on. So she will be working for 5 more years, which I don't think George knows that information yet. So I really do think we're going to see the end of their relationship.
Yeah.
That'll definitely crumble. Whether each of them go kind of their own separate ways with their flings, who knows what's going to happen. I'm really, really, really interested to see what's going to happen. Okay, here's our true cinema. Do you just want me to list them all and then we can go? Because you texted me and you were like, just finished episode 3. I already know my true cinema moment. Haven't even dived into 4 or 5 yet.
Yeah,
so you're locked. You're ready?
Ready to go. There's literally nothing that could have happened in 4 and 5 that would have changed my true cinema moment.
Oh man, I cannot wait. Oh, I'm so excited. I have no clue what it is. Okay. I've got a few here from each episode. So episode 1, cuts between Danny hunting for Amy and Amy getting off, rubbing on the gun. I think was some really, really smart editing, kind of see what both of them are attracted to and what their kind of like dark things that they like. Episode 2, Danny Cho grilling by the pool and Paul swimming, and Danny asks him like, what's your plan? What are you going to do? And Paul is just like, we're going to get a 10 multiplier and we're going to take it to 10,000. We're going to get to 100,000. We'll be at $1 million pretty soon. And Danny's like, you're just saying bigger numbers. And I died, man.
So
I died.
Good. Like, it's not a plan. You're just saying bigger numbers. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think that's probably the funniest part of the show so far for me. Episode 3, Danny in church, breaking down. We mentioned that. We talked about this. Episode 3, the what do you hate phone conversation between Amy and Paul. Now, this is the first time that they actually speak to each other outside of the DMs. Paul asks Amy, what do you hate? She basically says, I've never been asked that before. I don't know. I don't spend time on myself because I'm so busy providing for others, which I think is a very good theme with her character and a really good undertone. But I think that's an important phone conversation. Episode 3, the ending montage, we talked about all of these crazy things that are happening. Episode 4, Amy and Paul smoking and getting high, dropping some Skittles and some Coke, talking about how they're the main players of video games. Episode 4, chasing Paul through the stairs. Danny and Isaac basically saying that's that white devil talking when Paul says some like kind of elevated like love stuff of like if you guys don't catch me, I don't carry your brokenness anymore. And he's like, that's that white devil talking. Really good stuff from them. Episode 5, I've got 2 from episode 5. Fumi alone in the coffee shop calling her friends to chat. Absolutely devastating, dude.
Yeah.
I was ready to chalk it off and just be like, it's okay. It's just another, like, it's just a Fumi storyline, right? Like, it's a mom. It doesn't matter that much. But, like, she looks around, sees all these people communicating. She's very lonely. She's very sad, and she doesn't fulfill that. And she's calling her friends, and nobody's answering. And then her accountant calls her and is like, you're in a lot of debt, and your company's not solvent, and, like, you need to get money from your daughter-in-law alone. And so, like, complicates things even more, which I thought was really sad. And then the last one for episode 5 was Paul and Amy having sex. This was intense, and this is exactly what I want from Deepwater and any other modern day erotic thriller. This was very good and purposeful and impressive TV sex, to be quite frank. Yeah,
it was indeed. We didn't get any front dong as we've had on here before. We got a little ball sack at one point as he was putting on his underwear, but this stuff was intense to say the least. Like, it was very, very
we
real.
Got some butt pics. We did get some butt pics,
got some butt pics as well.
But yeah, A24 known for that dong, that's for sure.
I love it.
Okay, Ben, I want you to go. I want to know, what is it?
I mean, there's no way it's going to live up to the hype that I built around it, but since high school, like, my favorite band of all time is Incubus.
Yes, sir.
This little frisbee here is related to Incubus. I have multiple tattoos on my body that are related to Incubus. So imagine my fucking surprise when Steven Yeun starts playing Drive on the acoustic guitar and singing. I was like,
incredible.
Oh my fucking, are you kidding me? Like, what is happening right now? Like, once that happened, it's like, it's not going to get better than this for me personally. There's just no way. It's just impossible. It's like, this is the thing I didn't know that I needed, was him singing Drive, which is just like, I've seen them, like, I don't know, at least 15 times in concert. And it's at the point now where, like, that's just like their most popular song. So, like, you hear it all the time, but it's just like, it took on a whole new life, when Steven Yeun's playing it, just like with his little church group. I'm like, God damn it. Yeah. And like, they are from Calabasas. So the multiple references that we get to Calabasas in the show. And it was just like, that's what I kept thinking about. I was like, oh, that's where Incubus is from. And then all of a sudden, like, he starts playing, it's like, holy fucking shit. Like, this is amazing. So, nothing will top that for me. It's still a good moment. Like you said, like, it's a great montage between all the different characters and things like that, which I think works really well. But this is, there's just nothing else I could pick. It's like Andrew Garfield walking through the portal. It's like, whatever else happens here, this is my favorite thing that happened. Like, it's a small moment, but nothing else is going to be better than this. So that's my true cinema moment.
That's good. I mean, it sounds like an Apex Mountain situation here for Beef, quite honestly. I'm so happy for you. That's exciting. I don't listen to Incubus, but I know that song. And so I was like, oh, this song's a banger. Like, this is good. This is really good stuff. I'm so happy for you. That's great. Because, listen, my true cinema moment is the same, but bigger. I'm going with the whole montage at the end of episode 3. As soon as I saw that montage, right, as soon as I knew that we were getting all of these things happening at once, Paul kissing Amy, George masturbating to the picture, Danny is trying to turn his life around at the church, we're singing this great song, I was like, we are full swing. We're doing it. This is where things are taking off. This is great montage. I love a great montage. Great editing. I think it was really the full package of where kind of episodes 1 through 5, what they fully kind of contextually represent for every single person that is in this show. I really, really liked it, and I thought it was really fun to watch. Yeah. So look at that. You and I, who would have thought?
Same. Yeah.
Same. Okay, we've got A1X, and then we're gonna do our ranking and get out of here. We've got Steven Yeun. I think we've done Steven Yeun before.
Probably for Minari, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, probably for Minari, but we're gonna do it again. We've got Invincible. I put the Thunderbolts on here because he is upcoming. He's supposed to be a very large part of the MCU Thunderbolts. Upcoming, Mickey 17 with Bong Joon-ho and R. Pats. That's our boy. We've got Beef, obviously. Nope. The Humans, Minari, Sorry to Bother You, The Walking Dead, and Okja. Those are things that I put on here. What are you going with for Steven Yeun? What do you got for the A1 act here?
I mean, there's a lot of great roles in here. Like, he's fantastic in The Humans, like one of the best parts of that. Obviously, in Nope, he's amazing as well. But he's such a central character in Minari that it's hard not to pick that. I haven't watched The Walking Dead or Invincible, so I can't really like speak to that at all. But I know he was like a fan favorite on The Walking Dead. I know like his departure from the show was a very big deal, and Invincible seems to be getting great reviews. I just haven't checked them out yet, so I'm going to go with Minari.
Go with Minari. All right, I dig that. Yeah, for the sake of conversation, I'm going to go with Nope. I think he is really good in Nope, and he has that entire storyline kind of with the monkey and with the history of the TV show, and he's a very critical part of the underlying themes of, man versus wild, essentially, and taming the things that we do not know about. And he's got just a fucking dynamite jacket and a cowboy hat in that movie, so it's so hard to compete. Ali Wong, I've got a good little list here for her. We've got Beef, Big Mouth, Chuka and Birdie, Paper Girls, Human Resources, American Housewife. She was in 103 episodes of American Housewife. That just wanted to throw that out there. Wow. That's kind of crazy. Onward, which incredibly underrated Pixar film, in my opinion. I love Onward. Birds of Prey, Always Be My Maybe, The Hero, the Angry Birds movie, and Ali Wong, Baby Cobra. I have not really seen Ali Wong like in a lot of things. I don't really seek her out. I haven't seen one of her comedy specials, so I don't really know her from any of those things. But I'm gonna go with Birds of Prey because I think Birds of Prey deserves more love and more. I just think I think it's a great movie and it's a Harley Quinn movie and she's in it and we're gonna go with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great choice. I recommend her stand up to anyone. Baby Cobra, I think, was her first Netflix one. I think she's pregnant in her first two, which is kind of funny. But for this, I'm going to go with Always Be My Maybe because I think that's just one of the better recent rom-coms. I also think that was a Netflix original movie, but her and Randall Park are in that together. And obviously our man John Wick himself makes a great appearance in there. So anything with Keanu is good in my book. So that's what I'm going to go with. Is Always Be My Maybe. Nice. Love that. John Wick 4. Pretty good, huh? Dude, fuck, man. It's so good. Is it the only franchise? Like, all 4 have gotten better. You know what I mean? Like, they just keep getting better. It's insane. How do they do it? I don't know. If you haven't seen John Wick 4 yet, we're not going to spoil anything, obviously, but we heavily recommend it. And there is a scene in that movie that will leave you fucking speechless. Just absolutely incredible stuff. Mm-hmm. So cannot recommend John Wick 4 enough. Okay, last A1 act here. We've got Netflix original shows. This is a Netflix original show. I believe it's the first that A24 has co-produced. Pretty sure, based on what limited research. Yeah. So I've got a really big list here. I'm just going to go through them. And if you're listening, you'll get a really big list of Netflix original shows and you can smile when you hear one that you've seen or that you like. Here we go. Maniac, Stranger Things, Squid Game,
Dead to Me, Lupin, Mindhunter, the all great David Fincher on that one. The Crown, Russian Doll, Midnight Mass, Sex Education, Master of None, I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, The Haunting of Hill House, Heartstopper, House of Cards, Dark, BoJack Horseman, Narcos, Black Mirror, Arcane, Outer Banks, Love, Death, and Robots, The Umbrella Academy, Emily in Paris, Bridgerton, Orange is the New Black, You, Wednesday, Ozark, The Queen's Gambit, and American Vandal. Those are all the big titles that I could find, Ben.
Yeah.
That's a fucking lot of original shows.
That really is, yeah. And I'm gonna cheat. I'm doing my top 3 because like the list is too insane. It's so big.
Yeah.
I want you to do your top 3 as well because I'm kind of curious.
Okay. We can do that.
Have you seen Mindhunter? Have you watched that show?
Dude, no. Huge gap in my resume here. Not good because I hear it's very good.
That would make my top 3. That's amazing. I also really enjoy I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Such a funny show. There's like so many that I'm like stuck on for the last one. So like honestly I could do like my top 10. Like there's so many. But I'm gonna go with The Haunting of Hill House. Nice. Really good show that they did. I'm trying to remember the guy's name who like wrote and directed it.
Mike Flanagan, I believe.
Mike Flanagan, yeah. So that was like one of my first experiences with him. Good call. Yeah, so Haunting of Hill House was my exposure to Mike Flanagan, but obviously he's done some great other things like Dr. Sleep and Hush and stuff like that. So I highly recommend checking those out.
Nice. Okay. I don't really do the Netflix horror things. I just like I don't gravitate to horror in general. So like I just don't really seek that out.
Okay, I'm about to sell you on this show.
Okay,
and
here we go.
I know
Here's
exactly what the pitch is that you need here. Do you remember in the movie Tar? You've heard of it.
Of course. Great little flick.
There's like some scenes where Lydia Tar is walking in the front and there's like a ghost in the background. Yeah. It's like, wait, that was a person back there. The Haunting of Hill House fucking ramps that up. Like you get that all the time. There's stuff in the hallway where like, wait, is that like statue moving? Like it's that kind of shit. There are some jump scare things, but there's a lot of like, wait, that's in the background. It's so well done. So if you like that moment in Tar, this does it just like tenfold. It's so good.
Anything that you can relate back to Tar, that's
right? Yeah, I
win.
think I know what your kryptonite is now.
You do. You know me.
To Tar.
How can we? It's the seven degrees of Tar. Okay, I'm in. I'm sold. I think that sounds quite good. Okay, here are my top 3. Number 1 is Maniac. Have you even ever heard of Maniac, Ben?
Yeah, it's Emma Stone and Jonah Hill, right?
It is. Emma Stone, Jonah Hill. It's like a mini limited series. Psychological thriller type thing where every episode is a little bit different.
Okay.
Absolutely phenomenal. If you've seen the show, Annie, I'm a hawk. That's like iconic line. Jonah Hill turns into a hawk. It's unreal. It's just fucking crazy. So Maniac would be my first one. Here's the other thing about Netflix original shows. Like I just don't seek them out. I'm going to be honest with you. Like I just don't. I'm not like, oh cool, Netflix has another original show. I have to watch it because Stranger Things has kind of left a little sour taste in my mouth. Squid Game got really, really popular, so like it's not really cool to like that anymore. You know, things like this. So I'm gonna go with Maniac for number 1, and then I'm gonna go with Love, Death, and Robots for number 2. I think that is something truly unique, really fun, shorter, unique episodes, very, very different. And then I wish I could go with Mindhunter, truth be told, and like I kind of want to, but I'm gonna shout out Molly here. I'm gonna do this one for Molly, and I'm going with Heartstopper. Never watched a single second of it. It is like her all-time favorite show. She reads the graphic novels. She can't wait. She's up on all the casting news. She is in on Heartstopper. So, gotta have something good on your hands with that. That's what I'm assuming.
Honestly, like 2 of your 3 picks I've never heard of before. I've never heard of Heartstopper or Love, Death, and Robots.
You've never heard of Love, Death, and Robots?
No, I have no idea what that is.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. Yeah. I thought everybody knew about that.
I've never heard of it before. I'm sure everyone does. Like, just because I don't know about it doesn't mean everyone in the world doesn't know about it. But
that's generally the case with Maniac, where I'm like, oh, have you ever heard the show Netflix Maniac? And people are like, no. And I'm like, Jonah Hill, Emma Stone, like incredible. It's right up my alley. So At least you heard of that one. That's
true. Yeah. And honestly, like I can't help myself. I have to give honorable mentions. Black Mirror is so fucking good. It's a great show. Master of None. I know there's the issue with the Z's and all that stuff going that, came up, but the show itself is just a really well done TV show. So I wanted to shout those out as well. And BoJack is fucking hilarious.
Nice, dude. Ended with 6. Proud of you.
6.
Had to be done.
Gotta do it.
Okay, what's our A24 ranking for the first 5 episodes of Beef so far? We've got, if you're new to the pod, you might not know our ranking system. We've got A through F24, and we can deviate a little bit. We can give pluses and minuses. It's our show. We can do what we want.
Yeah.
So what are you feeling with? Because I'm really interested to see how our grade changes on the back half, if it improves or stays the same, or maybe gets worse. I don't know. What are you thinking for the first 5 episodes?
I mean, there was an Incubus song in the first 5 episodes, so like I can't not give this like an A24. But honestly, even without it, I'd probably still give like an A-24. Like I think it's really, really good. I'm excited to see where it goes. And I just want to say, like, we have our little outline here, and we got on, we looked at it. I was like, oh yeah, that's our ranking system, because we've been talking about the Oscars for so long and like what's coming up. Like the last movie we ranked was The Whale, like the week of Christmas. Like, that's the last time we used this rating system. So I was like, oh yeah, it's been a minute. So I'm going with a solid A24 on this.
That's good. Look, I wholeheartedly agree. I am also going with an A24 for this. I mean, this show has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It is a 97% audience score. People are loving this show, and that's based on all 10 episodes. So I'm really curious to see what happens. We're going to be covering 6 through 10 next week here on the pod. So you got plenty of time to catch up, to watch all 10 episodes, join in on the conversation, but definitely an A24. I'm loving the direction style, the needle drops, the very kind of overlapping, very poignant and sometimes dark personal themes that are going on in this show. And it is really absolutely funny. When it is funny, it is really funny. So I think there's a lot of good things here. I'm very excited for the back 5, man. Really excited.
Same here. Like as we were talking, I pulled up this list of the songs that are on the show.
Okay.
And
nice.
I mean, like the first song we hear is like O-Town Liquid Dreams, which is just like a classic if you kind of grew up in that time frame. But like Hoobastank, Collective Soul, Tori Amos. Obviously, I've talked at length about Incubus, but Sugar Ray, Limp Bizkit, The Offspring, System of a Down, like it's just all these kind of just that time, it's perfect. And this list goes down through 6 through 10, but I haven't gone to that low on the page. I'm like, I just want to be surprised by what they have.
Man.
Like, I don't want to get ruined. I don't want this to be spoiled for me. So I'm very much looking forward to 6 to 10 and to talking about that next week. We'd love to know what all of you guys thought about the first 5 episodes of Beef. You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram. We are at 24 minutes of A24. Also, you can watch us on our YouTube channel, same name, 24 minutes of A24. Look for us there. You can see our beautiful faces, and you can just see me talk glowingly about Incubus, and you can see my little Chuck frisbee over there. So we'll see you guys next week. I am Ben Lawhorn,
and I am Ethan Simi. Spring break forever, bitches.